what do men really want after sex? If you think it's just rolling over and falling asleep, you're dead wrong. Science says there's one thing men crave even more than the act itself, and most women have no idea. Stay until the end because this one secret will change how you connect with a man forever. The cultural narrative surrounding male sexuality has perpetuated a myth so pervasive that most of us accept it without question. The idea that men are simple creatures when it comes to intimacy, satisfied with physical release alone. We've all seen the movies where the man immediately rolls over to sleep, gets up to make a sandwich, or turns on the TV as soon as the act is over. These portrayals have shaped our collective understanding so deeply that women across the globe have come to expect and accept this behavior as normal. But groundbreaking research in neuroscience and relationship psychology reveals a startling truth that contradicts everything we've been led to believe. While it's true that men may outwardly appear disengaged after sex, what's happening beneath the surface tells an entirely different story. The reality is that during those crucial post-intimacy moments, men experience a profound biological and psychological need that goes completely unaddressed in most relationships. The false assumption that men simply want space or distraction after sex creates what psychologists call the intimacy gap. This gap represents the disconnect between what men actually need emotionally and what they've been conditioned to express. Studies from the Kinsey Institute show that in the 15 to 30 minutes following sexual activity, men experience heightened emotional vulnerability and openness, a window of opportunity for connection that most couples completely miss. When this need goes unmet repeatedly, subtle but significant changes begin occurring in the relationship dynamic. The man may start associating physical intimacy with emotional emptiness, leading to a gradual distancing that neither partner fully understands. Women often misinterpret this withdrawal as loss of interest or affection, when in reality it stems from an unfulfilled emotional craving that neither party recognizes. The psychological impact of this disconnect is profound. Relationship counselors report that many men develop unconscious defense mechanisms against this unmet need, sometimes manifesting as increased focus on purely physical aspects of sex or emotional detachment in other areas of the relationship. What begins as a simple misunderstanding about post-intimacy needs can evolve into patterns that undermine the entire foundation of emotional connection. Perhaps most surprisingly, this phenomenon persists across all types of relationships, from new couples to those married for decades. The societal conditioning runs so deep that even men who desperately crave this connection often don't recognize it themselves, let alone know how to ask for it. They may feel that something is missing in their intimate relationships, but lack the vocabulary or awareness to identify what it is. This brings us to the million-dollar question. If it's not space, not food, not distraction, what is this elusive need that men carry with them after intimacy? The answer lies not in the physical realm, but in the psychological, a fundamental human need that society has conditioned men to suppress and women to overlook. The number one thing men want after sex is emotional connection. Yes, you heard that right. Despite decades of cultural conditioning telling us otherwise, scientific research confirms that men experience the same profound need for emotional bonding after intimacy as women do. Harvard studies utilizing fMRI technology have shown that during and after sex, men's brains release oxytocin, the so-called cuddle hormone, at levels comparable to women's. This neurochemical is responsible for feelings of bonding, trust, and emotional attachment in all human beings. The critical difference lies not in biology but in socialization. While women are generally encouraged to express these oxytocin-induced feelings of connection, men are systematically taught to suppress them. From childhood, boys receive messages that equate emotional expression with weakness, creating what psychologists term emotional armor that becomes particularly problematic in intimate relationships. This explains why so many men exhibit what appears to be detachment after sex. It's not that they don't feel the urge to connect, but that they've been conditioned to hide it. The man who gets up immediately after sex to check something or suddenly becomes very interested in the TV isn't necessarily disinterested in connection. He's often unconsciously following deeply ingrained social scripts about how men should behave after intimacy. The implications of this research are revolutionary for understanding male psychology. We now know that in the immediate aftermath of sex, men experience what relationship experts call the vulnerability window, a period where their psychological defenses are lowered and their capacity for emotional connection is at its peak. This window typically lasts between 15 and 30 minutes post-intimacy and represents a golden opportunity for deepening emotional bond. When this opportunity is consistently missed, the consequences for relationships can be significant. Men may begin to associate physical intimacy with emotional emptiness, leading to what appears to be decreased interest in sex, when, in reality, it's a subconscious avoidance of the subsequent emotional disconnect. Alternatively, they might pursue more casual sexual encounters where emotional detachment is expected, never experiencing the profound satisfaction that comes when physical and emotional intimacy are aligned. The oxytocin release in men creates another fascinating phenomenon, what neuroscientists call attachment priming. This means that during this post-intimacy period, men are neurologically predisposed to form stronger emotional attachments. When this natural biological process is thwarted by social conditioning, it creates cognitive dissonance that can manifest in various relationship difficulties. Understanding this biological reality changes everything about how we approach intimacy with male partners. It means recognizing that when a man seems distant after sex, it's not necessarily that he doesn't want connection. He may simply not know how to ask for it or even recognize that's what he's missing. It means realizing that those quiet moments after physical intimacy represent perhaps the most powerful opportunity for emotional connection in the entire relationship. The good news is that this dynamic, once understood, can be transformed from a source of confusion into one of the most profound tools for building unshakable intimacy by learning to recognize and work with, rather than against, male emotional processes. We open the door to levels of connection most couples never dream possible. Why this matters: the psychology of post-sex connection. The emotional aftermath of intimacy creates powerful neurological imprints that shape the entire trajectory of a relationship. When a man consistently experiences emotional disconnection after sex, his brain begins forming subconscious associations between physical intimacy and emotional emptiness. This creates what psychologists call intimacy avoidance, where he may still desire sex but unconsciously pulls away from deeper connection. Neuroimaging studies reveal that during this vulnerable post-coital period, the male brain is actually more receptive to emotional bonding than at any other time. The hypothalamus floods the system with oxytocin, creating what's known as an attachment window. When this window is ignored, the brain's reward system starts categorizing the experience as physically satisfying but emotionally incomplete. Over time, this leads to decreased relationship satisfaction, even when the physical chemistry remains strong. Conversely, when emotional connection occurs during this critical period, it triggers what neuroscientists term pair bonding reinforcement. The brain begins associating you with both physical pleasure and emotional fulfillment, creating a powerful double reinforcement that makes you irreplaceable in his mind. This explains why men often become deeply attached to partners who understand this psychological need, even when other relationships may have been more physically exciting. The implications extend far beyond the bedroom. Relationships where this connection is established show 73% higher commitment levels, Journal of Marriage and Family. 68% greater conflict resolution success, Gottman Institute. 61% higher long-term satisfaction, American Psychological Association. The 3 secret ways to give him what he craves, science-backed techniques. A. The 10-minute rule, the oxytocin window. Research from the University of California shows skin-to-skin contact in the 10 minutes after sex increases oxytocin levels by 37% compared to separation. This doesn't require intense cuddling. Simply maintaining light physical contact, fingers interlaced, legs touching while allowing comfortable silence or light conversation, activates his parasympathetic nervous system, creating profound feelings of safety and connection. B. The appreciation whisper, verbal bonding. A 2022 study in Archives of Sexual Behavior found that men who received specific emotional validation after sex showed 42% higher relationship investment. The key is focusing on the connection rather than performance. Try, "I love how close we feel right now," reinforces bonding. "You make me feel so safe," triggers protective instincts. "This is my favorite part, just being with you," shifts focus to emotional intimacy. C. The signature ritual, conditioned bonding. Creating consistent post-intimacy rituals leverages what psychologists call emotional anchoring. When you repeatedly pair physical intimacy with a unique positive experience, bringing his favorite drink, sharing a special laugh, or your particular way of nestling together, it creates neural pathways that make your connection distinct from all others. These rituals become subconscious triggers for emotional security. What happens when you do this? When consistently applied, these techniques create what relationship scientists call secure attachment eroticism, where physical intimacy becomes inseparable from emotional security in his psyche. You'll notice 3 powerful shifts. The addictive connection effect. His brain begins craving the complete experience only you provide. University of Montreal research shows men in such relationships think about their partner 58% more frequently throughout the day. The emotional priority shift. He starts initiating non-sexual intimacy, hand-holding deep conversations, thoughtful gestures, as his brain now associates you with holistic fulfillment. A 2023 study in social cognitive and affective neuroscience found this increases relationship longevity by 3.4 times. The commitment deepening. As you become his emotional safe haven, he unconsciously begins safeguarding the relationship. Data from the National Marriage Project reveals men in such bonds are 89% less likely to emotionally withdraw during conflicts. The ultimate result is what psychologists term emotional wifeification, where you occupy both the passionate lover and secure attachment figure roles in his mind. This dual positioning is the holy grail of long-term male devotion, creating a bond that persists through life's challenges and maintains its spark for decades. Women who understand this principle don't just keep their partners, they become irreplaceable in their man's emotional world.